listen to me, too many of you are letting your emotions drive the car while your purpose is sitting in the back seat. You're out here making permanent decisions based on temporary feelings. You're angry for 5 minutes and you throw away 5 years of work. You're hurt today, so you quit on something that could have changed your life tomorrow. You gotta stop letting your emotions control you. You gotta master them, because life doesn't care how you feel. It responds to how you act. Champions don't move on emotions. They move on principles. When the alarm clock goes off, they don't ask, do I feel like getting up? They just get up. When things fall apart, they don't break down. They lock in. They understand that emotions are signals, not steering wheels. You can't let anger, fear, or sadness dictate your direction. You have to train your mind to pause, breathe, and choose power over panic. The moment you learn to control your emotions is the moment you start controlling your destiny. That's when you stop being a slave to circumstances and start becoming the master of your life. So today, we're not talking about suppressing emotions. We're talking about owning them. Feel it, face it, and then focus. Because when you master your emotions, you master your world. Every single day, people let their emotions take control of their lives without even realizing it. They wake up feeling tired, frustrated, or unmotivated, and instead of pushing through, they let those emotions decide what kind of day they'll have. They let a bad moment ruin a whole day, and a bad day turn into a bad week. But here's the truth. Emotions were never meant to drive your life. They were meant to signal what's going on inside of you, to alert you, not to direct you. When you treat emotions like the steering wheel, you hand over control of your direction to something that changes every few minutes. One moment you're confident, the next you're doubtful. One moment you're inspired, the next you're scared. If you let those feelings dictate your actions, you'll spend your entire life spinning in circles. Think about it. How many times have you said something you didn't mean in anger? How many times have you walked away from something important because you felt discouraged in the moment? That's what happens when emotions take the lead. You react, not respond. And reacting is dangerous because it's impulsive, it's short-sighted, it's emotional. Responding, though, that's powerful. Responding means you felt something, you processed it, and then you chose how to act. That's emotional intelligence. That's maturity. That's control. You can't stop emotions from showing up. You're human. You will feel anger, fear, sadness, excitement, jealousy, pride, love, everything. The goal isn't to shut those emotions down. It's to understand them. Every emotion carries a message. Anger says, something feels unfair. Fear says, something feels uncertain. Sadness says, you've lost something that mattered. When you stop reacting and start listening, emotions become information. They tell you what needs attention. But if you let them take over, that information turns into destruction. When emotions are signals, they help you grow. They push you to look deeper at what's happening. They help you notice patterns. Maybe every time you face rejection, you get defensive. That's not the rejection. That's a signal that you tie your worth to approval. Maybe every time you're challenged, you get angry. That's not anger. That's insecurity trying to protect you. When you pause and analyze, you gain awareness. And awareness is power, because once you're aware of what's driving you, you can change direction consciously instead of automatically reacting. You see, mastering your emotions isn't about ignoring them. It's about becoming the observer instead of the prisoner. It's about being able to feel anger rise up and still choose peace. It's about feeling fear in your chest and still taking the step forward. It's about knowing that the emotion doesn't define you, your response does. The difference between ordinary people and great leaders, between failure and success, between chaos and clarity is the ability to control emotions. You don't have to be emotionless. You just have to be emotionally intelligent. Let's be real. Life will test you. You'll get betrayed, misunderstood, rejected, disappointed. Those moments will trigger emotions that can make you want to explode, withdraw, or give up. But those are the exact moments where emotional mastery separates the winners from the quitters. The person who reacts burns bridges, says things they can't take back, and destroys opportunities. The person who responds takes a breath, processes the situation, and acts with purpose. One acts out of impulse, the other acts out of intention, and intention always wins. When emotions try to take over, you need to ask yourself, what is this feeling trying to tell me? What triggered it? What's the truth behind it? Because often emotions exaggerate the story. You fail once, and your emotions tell you you'll never succeed. You get criticized, and your emotions tell you you're not good enough. You get left out, and your emotions tell you you're not wanted. Emotions lie when you give them control, but when you use them as signals, you see the truth behind them. You learn to say, I feel this way, but I know this isn't permanent. That's how you build resilience, by not letting every emotional wave knock you over. Instead, you learn to surf those waves. You ride them, you learn from them, and you move forward stronger. Because when emotions control you, you become unpredictable, inconsistent, and unstable. But when you control your emotions, you become focused, grounded, and unstoppable. You can't let temporary emotions destroy permanent goals. You can't let a bad mood cost you your purpose. You can't let fear keep you from taking the shot, or anger keep you from forgiving, or sadness keep you from trying again. Every great person you admire has felt those same emotions, but they learned how to use them instead of being used by them. They felt fear and turned it into courage. They felt pain and turned it into power. They felt frustration and turned it into fuel. That's what happens when emotions become signals. They point you toward growth. You have to train yourself daily to pause before reacting. That's the secret. The pause is power. When you feel triggered, take a breath. Ask yourself what outcome you actually want. Then act from your purpose, not your pain. That single moment of control can change everything. It can save relationships, protect your reputation, and keep your dreams alive. Because when you act emotionally, you might win the moment, but lose the mission. When you act intentionally, you win both. There will be days when your emotions scream louder than your logic. Days when you just want to quit, lash out, or give up. But that's exactly when you need to remind yourself, emotions are temporary, but consequences are not. Feelings pass, but the choices you make in those feelings last. So don't give permanent power to something temporary. Don't hand your steering wheel to anger, fear, or frustration. Keep your hands on it. You decide the direction. You decide the pace. You decide how to respond. At the end of the day, emotional mastery isn't about being cold or robotic. It's about freedom. Freedom from reacting to every trigger. Freedom from being manipulated by your moods. Freedom to stay consistent in your vision, no matter how you feel. Because the world doesn't reward how you feel. It rewards how you perform. And when you stop letting emotions steer your life, you finally start driving toward your purpose with clarity, strength, and control. There will always be moments when your emotions try to pull you off track, when frustration, fear, or doubt start to take the wheel. But that's exactly when discipline and focus must step in. Discipline isn't about feeling good. It's about doing what needs to be done, even when every part of you wants to quit. It's about understanding that emotions come and go, but consistency builds character. When you live based on emotion, your progress becomes unstable. One good day, you're fired up and productive, and the next, you're lost and distracted. But when you lead with discipline and focus, your actions stop depending on how you feel. You show up whether you're tired, angry, or uninspired because your mission means more than your mood. Think about every champion, every leader, every person who's ever achieved greatness. They didn't always feel motivated. They didn't always wake up excited. But they had a system, a routine, a standard. They trained themselves to act on commitment, not emotion. And that's where true power lies. Discipline is the muscle that keeps you steady when emotions try to shake you. It's what separates the people who dream from the people who deliver. Emotions scream for comfort, but discipline whispers direction. Emotions tell you to stop when it's hard, but discipline reminds you why you started. When life hits, emotions will try to take control. You'll feel anger when things don't go your way, fear when uncertainty rises, frustration when results don't come fast enough. But focus demands you keep your eyes on the goal no matter what's happening around you. Focus says, I know what I want, and I refuse to be distracted. It keeps you grounded when chaos tries to pull you away. You can't focus if you're constantly reacting to how you feel. The moment you let emotions interrupt your concentration, you lose rhythm, momentum, and clarity. That's why discipline and focus must lead. They act as your internal compass. When emotions blur your vision, you can't wait for motivation. You have to create movement. Motivation is emotional. It's powerful but temporary. Discipline is permanent. It's built through repetition, through doing the work every single day regardless of how you feel. The difference between amateurs and professionals is that amateurs work when they feel like it. Professionals work until the work is done. You can't allow emotions to dictate your effort because some days you'll feel like you can conquer the world and some days you'll barely want to move. But discipline doesn't care how you feel. It only cares about execution. There will be days when your mind tells you you're too tired, when your heart feels heavy, when nothing seems to go right. That's when most people stop. But if you can learn to silence that emotional noise and move anyway, you separate yourself from the crowd. You rise above the average because most people obey their emotions. They get discouraged and stop showing up. They get bored and lose consistency. They get angry and make emotional decisions that cost them everything. But those who lead with discipline keep showing up, keep working, keep moving forward. That's how you earn mastery, through repetition in moments of resistance. Focus is the lens that sharpens your purpose. When emotions cloud your vision, focus cuts through the noise. You have to constantly remind yourself of your mission. Why are you doing this? What's the outcome you want? Because when you have a clear why, it becomes easier to keep going even when emotions try to derail you. Focus turns pain into purpose. It transforms distraction into determination. Every time you catch yourself reacting emotionally, bring your mind back to your purpose. That practice builds mental toughness. It teaches your brain that emotions can be felt but not followed. Discipline and focus also protect you from emotional burnout. When you're ruled by emotion, you're up one day and down the next. You burn energy reacting to everything instead of investing energy in what matters. But when discipline leads, you move with structure. You conserve energy for what truly deserves it. You learn to control your environment instead of being controlled by it. You stop wasting time arguing, complaining, and doubting, and start using that time to build, learn, and grow. Discipline doesn't just strengthen your work ethic, it stabilizes your emotions. It gives you something constant in a world full of chaos. The truth is, emotions can be powerful allies when guided by discipline. Passion can fuel your work. Excitement can energize your grind, and joy can amplify your creativity. But when emotions go unchecked, they become distractions. They lead you into impulsive choices, inconsistent habits, and temporary relief instead of long-term results. Discipline keeps emotions in their place behind the mission, not in front of it. It says, you can feel this, but we still have work to do. That mindset builds momentum that emotions can't destroy. When you feel overwhelmed or discouraged, discipline helps you anchor yourself. It reminds you of your standards. You might not feel your best, but you can still perform at your best. You might not have motivation, but you can still move with intention. That's how greatness is built, not in moments of excitement, but in moments of persistence. The grind doesn't care about your feelings. It rewards your consistency. When discipline and focus take control, you stop being swayed by emotional highs and lows. You operate from a place of stability, clarity, and purpose. People often say, follow your heart. But sometimes your heart can lead you into chaos. Sometimes your heart wants comfort, validation, or revenge. Discipline and focus, on the other hand, remind you to follow your principles. They keep you aligned with your values and goals. You stop reacting emotionally to small things and start responding strategically to big ones. That's how leaders are made. That's how people earn respect. Not because they never feel emotions, but because they've mastered how to manage them while staying disciplined. You have to train your mind the same way athletes train their bodies. Every time you feel an emotion rising, practice pausing and focusing. Every time you want to quit, practice finishing. Every time distractions try to pull you away, practice returning to your purpose. Over time, that discipline becomes second nature. You won't have to fight your emotions as much because your habits will take over. Habits built on discipline are stronger than moods built on emotion. Understand that focus isn't just about concentration, it's about alignment. It's about making sure every action, thought, and decision serves your long-term vision. You can't do that if you're constantly reacting emotionally. When emotions try to pull you left or right, focus keeps you centered. When discipline leads, it becomes easier to say no to distractions, to walk away from negativity, and to stay consistent with your goals. It teaches you to delay gratification, to think long-term, and to trust the process. Every person who's ever achieved mastery learned how to silence emotions in the heat of the moment. Soldiers in battle, athletes under pressure, leaders in crisis, they all rely on discipline and focus, not feelings. They know emotions can cloud judgment, but discipline brings clarity. That's how you learn to make smart moves even when you feel strong emotions. You stop saying, I feel like it, and start saying, I'm built for it. Because discipline builds habits, and habits build legacies. When discipline and focus lead, you're no longer reactive, you're proactive. You don't wait to see how you feel, you decide who you'll be. You build the strength to stay steady through storms, the clarity to see beyond emotion, and the consistency to keep growing no matter what life throws your way. You become unshakable because your foundation isn't built on emotion. It's built on commitment. True strength doesn't come from how much you can lift, how loud you can shout, or how tough you can act. True strength begins inside. It starts with mastering yourself. Because the hardest battle you'll ever fight is not with the world, not with your enemies, not even with your circumstances, but with your own emotions, your impulses, and your thoughts. Every day, you wake up and face an invisible war between who you are and who you want to become. Mastering yourself means winning that war before it even starts. It means understanding that if you can't control what's inside you, you'll never be able to control what's happening around you. You see, life will always throw challenges your way. People will test your patience, situations will test your peace, and failure will test your faith. But how you respond to those moments determines everything. Most people spend their lives trying to control the external world, trying to fix everyone else. trying to change situations that are out of their hands, but they forget the only true power they have is over themselves. When you master your emotions, you stop being tossed around by every wave that hits you. You become grounded, focused, and calm in the middle of the storm. That's where real strength shows, not in the ability to fight back at everything, but in the ability to stay composed when everything around you is falling apart. People think strength means reacting quickly, proving a point, or showing dominance, but the strongest person in the room is usually the quietest one, the one who doesn't let emotions make decisions for them. Mastering yourself means you no longer let anger speak for you, fear guide you, or ego blind you. It means you feel every emotion, but you decide which one gets your energy. You don't deny your emotions, you direct them. You take that anger and turn it into drive. You take that fear and turn it into focus. You take that pain and turn it into power. That's the art of self-mastery, using emotions as tools, not weapons. When you can't master yourself, you give away your power. You let people control you without even realizing it. Someone says something negative, and suddenly your whole mood shifts. Someone disagrees with you, and you lose your calm. That's not power. That's weakness disguised as reaction. But when you master yourself, nobody can manipulate your peace. You decide how you respond. You decide how much energy something deserves. And you decide what kind of mindset you'll keep no matter what's happening. That's freedom. That's control. That's what real strength looks like. Self-mastery starts with awareness. You can't control what you don't understand. You have to know your triggers, your habits, your patterns. You have to be honest about what makes you lose control. Maybe it's pride, maybe it's insecurity, maybe it's fear of failure. Whatever it is, you have to face it instead of running from it, because what you don't face will continue to control you. When you bring awareness to your emotions, you start recognizing when they're trying to take over. You catch yourself before reacting, and that pause becomes power. That moment between emotion and reaction is where strength is built. Discipline also plays a huge part in mastering yourself. You can't control emotions without discipline. It's not about suppressing how you feel. It's about creating structure strong enough to guide your actions. When you're disciplined, you don't let emotions dictate your consistency. You keep showing up. You keep working. You keep growing even when you don't feel like it. That's how you earn control. The more disciplined your actions become, the quieter your emotions get, because you've trained your body and mind to follow purpose instead of impulse. Mastering yourself also means mastering your thoughts. Your emotions follow your thoughts, and your actions follow your emotions. So if you want to change how you react, start by changing how you think. Stop feeding thoughts that weaken you. Stop replaying negative stories in your mind. Stop imagining worst-case scenarios. Replace them with thoughts that build strength, calm, and confidence. When you take control of your mental dialogue, you take control of your emotional state. Your thoughts are the seeds, your emotions are the soil, and your actions are the harvest. Plant wisely. Every time you react emotionally, you lose energy. You drain yourself over things that don't deserve that power. But when you master yourself, you conserve that energy and use it strategically. You stop fighting pointless battles. You stop explaining yourself to everyone. You stop letting opinions shake your peace. You become selective with your reactions, not because you don't care, but because you finally understand that not everything deserves your response. That's emotional maturity. That's strength. The truth is, the world will always have chaos, negativity, and conflict. You can't eliminate that, but you can build yourself in a way that it doesn't control you. When you master yourself, your environment stops dictating your emotions. You can walk through pressure without breaking. You can face criticism without shrinking. You can deal with loss without losing yourself, because your power doesn't come from what's around you. It comes from what's within you. That's why true strength is silent. It doesn't need to prove. It doesn't need to shout. It just stands steady when everything else shakes. You can't control time, people, or circumstances, but you can control your attitude, your response, and your mindset. You can decide to stay calm in chaos, patient in pain, and consistent in struggle. Every time you do that, you build inner armor. You become stronger than emotions, stronger than temptation, stronger than doubt. That's how you become unbreakable, not by avoiding struggle, but by mastering your reaction to it. Self-mastery is not a one-time achievement, it's a daily practice. Every day gives you opportunities to lose control or maintain it. Every day gives you triggers that test your patience and emotions that test your discipline. And every time you choose calm over chaos, growth over reaction, focus over frustration, you strengthen your inner foundation. You start realizing that you don't have to fight everything. You just have to understand it, manage it, and rise above it. People who master themselves don't live perfect lives. They just live in control. They know storms will come, but they've built themselves to stay centered. They know emotions will rise, but they've learned how to navigate them. They know pain will appear, but they've discovered how to use it as fuel instead of letting it burn them. Mastering yourself gives you that balance, the ability to feel deeply without being driven blindly. True strength isn't loud, it's silent. It's the ability to keep peace when everything else demands reaction. It's the ability to choose growth when your emotions want revenge. It's the ability to move forward when fear whispers retreat. You don't need to control the world when you can control yourself. Once you master your inner world, the outer world starts falling into place naturally, because nothing is more powerful than a person who has learned to master their emotions, their focus, and their reactions. That's where real control begins. And that's where real strength is born.